Hello everybody and welcome once again to another episode of Rosham Joe Paints. As always, my name is Joe and today what we're going to be doing is unboxing and preparing the Primaris Judicar from the Indomitus box set. I'm going to be doing a slight kit bash with some wings and a different helm, so it's very, very minor stuff and it's not required, but I thought it looked pretty cool because I saw it online, so let me show you how I got there. So here we go. We got the Judicar and all of his pieces, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, this is just a simple push-to-fit model that comes out of Indomitus, and there's no nothing special about it, right? Well, you're right. At this point, there is nothing special about it, but that's because I haven't done anything to it yet. The model goes together. It is a push to fit. I am going to throw some glue in here because what I want to do is I want to glue these seams here. And then after they're glued with plastic glue, I'm going to come back with a knife and just scrape it down so I don't get a line. This other line that happens to be in here, some of it gets covered up by an arm. The rest of it's going to get covered up with just dark paint or like some paint leather stuff. This guy again gets covered up with an arm, but I can at least scrape a little bit out of that away to try and remove that that seam. This arm is just push on, real simple, and his hand pushes on as well. Very simple. So far, so good. Unless I make it hard on myself. There we go. I was thinking about gluing these together, but I think that I would probably, because they're at like perpendicular angles almost, I think I'm just going to paint it separately and just dab a little bit of glue. There's no real seam to worry about between those two pieces, but I'm going to leave that off for now. Now, with the piece fully glued together, I'm still going to be able to get this other arm in, which is kind of nice. So it's got a little bit of a nub there, or a little peg. And inside, I don't know if you can see it quite right, but right there on the back is the slot where it goes in. So you can actually just push this after it's all fully assembled and something along those lines. There you go. So it'll actually go together after it's assembled, which is nice, which means I can actually paint it separate. Now, even if it's going to be an issue, you could probably cut this entire piece off and just glue around that little circle and push it in like that. Push it in like that so you can't see the thumb. But this is going to be essential later because what I'm going to do, I will show you in a second. So then, of course, you got your backpack, which goes on, and it actually has a specific direction up and down. Obviously, not like that, but I'm saying like it. You could put it this way, but it actually pushes in and kind of like gets stuck into place. That's also very important because of stuff I'm going to do later. Now, the head that it comes with, I am not a fan of, and I don't know, some people might be, some people might not be, but it's like a bear head or a skull helmet, maybe, with a bandana, and I just wasn't a fan of it. Now, what I was a fan of, and I am not starting this trend by any means, there's a lot of people who've at least reposted the 2 or 3 of them that someone made, but what people did is they took other helmets. Now, you can obviously take just a regular Space Marine helmet and pop that guy in there. Won't look too exceptional. It'll just look like a Space Marine who got his head backwards. It'll just look like a normal Space Marine, but with a lot of extra armor and a big sword. There is also the Knight. The Captain has 3 helmets. One is a bear head. Another one is this one with like the visor up. So that one is not too bad of a look, in my opinion. But just because he's not a captain, you might want to go scrape the decorative skull off the front. I don't know if there's taboo things about that or whatnot. Also, I think there are just bear helmets you could use too, like, or bear heads, that is, like this one. I don't remember where it came from, but there's just in the bear head you could use if you'd like to. And whenever I say bear head, I swear to God, I'm thinking that it actually needs like a literal bear head now, but I don't have one. But what I do have is from this Chaplain box, I have this skull hood, which I think will look fantastic in here. And I say I think will look fantastic, but I know it does because I've actually seen it on other models. That's where I got the idea. The second thing that I'm going to be doing, and this is it's going to be a little bit more difficult but I have these box of, I think it was the Sanguinary Guard from the Blood Angels, and I'm planning on putting these wings on here because, again, not my idea, but just a really cool one. So when it's done, it'll be something like that. Now, what I was talking about before with the sword, and we'll have to go into a little bit of detail with this later while I'm assembling it after the body is glued, is get in there. This wing is going to be, I'm thinking, on the backpack, these little nubs that are on the side here and here, like that guy right there, the top one. I'm thinking I'm going to take a blade and just chop that off and then put this there, right? Maybe shave down this piece a little bit so it matches a little more fleshly. Let's move the helmet before I drop it and lose it. But I'm thinking the angle that I want is actually going to be kind of like this and in front of the blade. So this wing has to be set on this side and fully dried before we go to the other one, because we obviously want the both to match, but there's nothing obstructing this one at all. So I don't want to set this one at a specific angle and make it look really good and really like it, and then try to replicate on the other side and have that sword be an issue. If it was, I'm sure I could shave this down to a point and make it less of a blunt edge, but I'm not going to. Anyways, so first step of this whole, should be very short, we're going to put this together really quick, is of course to glue these two pieces together. And as I showed you, you can get the arm in afterwards. You can get all the pieces on afterwards. So what that does, as far as painting goes, it makes it nice because you can paint this whole thing. Now, if you were to say, oh, well, Joe, I want to get in here and paint the leg, I feel you. I want to do that too. And if it was wide open like that, you could, but there's not a whole lot of detail on this leg you're going to see when it's fully assembled. So I'm going to just put it together, and I will do my best to throw some paint up in there, maybe highlight the shoe, the boot, and that'll be it. But then obviously I could paint the entire rest of his cloak and everything without anything in the way. So that'll be in the ramble and ramble free and the ramble included. I don't have a name for that. Just the regular episodes and then the ramble free. I'll show the process. First step, back to a minute ago or whenever it was, let's glue this thing together, and then we will come and shave down the joints or seams. So the glue is now dried, and we are a day later here. So I've already scraped down a good amount of this, and you can see a little lump right here, but overall we are looking pretty smooth, which is why I'm going to keep tempting fate. But overall, the seam is now gone, and I do, real quick, got an old toothbrush here just to knock the models out of my hands. Got an old toothbrush here to kind of like get any of the little bits that might be there out. So there you go. But obviously, or not obviously, but I will show you, I have not done the other side, and you can see there's a little bit of glue remnants and this piece up here. So I just wanted to go over really quick how I use my hobby. Can I see it? I move my camera. I keep doing that to myself. Now I look over here. Anyways, my hobby knife. You can use the back of it to scrape. However, I don't like doing that because I feel like even though there's a better chance of cutting a good amount of the model if you use the sharp end and you don't use it properly, if you use it properly, it's actually quite good. So instead of going straight up and down, what I like to do is put the blade at an angle, and an angle not towards the cut you're making, but away from the cut. So I'm just dragging the blade across it like this, if that makes, hopefully that can be translated through here. And what I'm going to do is, instead of going straight up and down the seam, I'm going to drag it across the seam like this, and adjust up and down a little bit, and then back this way. Because what I don't want is, I don't want to create this is a high spot in the curve of the cloak, but I don't want to create like a very flat edge, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just do this, and like I said, you can use the back end, you can use the sharp side, you can use one of their official scrapers, I'm sure would work fine. If you have like a nail file that's a really high Be careful if you do that too. Again, don't do that. Actually, just don't do that. That was a bad. I caught myself on camera, but this is what not to do. That's what's not to do, because if you had it too much of an angle, well, then you might have a cut in your finger. Anyways, so I'm going to continue on until that seam has essentially disappeared, is what I'm looking for. And I will go in front of and behind the seam so that it's not just an abrupt, all of a sudden scrape. Hopefully, some of that made sense. I imagine that you've done this before with mold lines. It's the same thing. It's just like a mold line. The hardest part here is that it's a gap instead of, you know, a raised portion that you're scraping off. So come back at it this way, and eventually we will have a good seam. Now, the paint will cover up some of this, but the better off you get this, the less work you have to do and try to hide it later. You could use a little bit of liquid green stuff. There's putty. There is regular green stuff. You could use, honestly, you could use like an Elmer's glue. You could use some super glue, etc., etc., etc. But you're just looking to fill this gap. And since paint is like an additive process, you could also just paint, like, you know, if you were doing this cloak in Rhinox hide, you could paint Rhinox hide like 100 times in here. So I'm going to keep working on this, not on camera, and then I will come back and show you, hopefully, a finished cloak. Oh, there's this piece up here too, actually. I noticed. Does these two pieces join together when you glue it together? So this one has to get a little bit of work as well. So this one's a bit rougher because it's in a, if you can see that, it kind of is like a little concave section there. So I got to work a little bit on that, and we'll come back with all of it done and clean to where I'm happy with it. Okay, we're back. So I finished, like I said, scraping this down to a point where I'm happy. Never quite got to a point where I was happy with this, but I do believe that what's going to happen here is, like, when I rub my blade this way across it, I'm not catching on the lip, so I think that'll just disappear once we prime it. And if we don't, like I said, I will add a bunch of layers of that base coat in that particular spot so that it goes away. Now you can see that I have the arm and the backpack on, obviously. And what I've done off screen, the magic of time-lapsing, I don't know. I went ahead, so there's the nub here on this side. Well, you focus. Hang on, gotta talk to my camera a little bit. Here we go. Now you're shaking. Perfect. Almost. Anyways, so you got on these Primaris backpacks, you got this little couple of nubs that are around the side. So this one right here, and there isn't one right here right now. And what I did is I ended up just cutting straight down and then straight in just to knock that piece off. And so what I'm going to go for is I'm not going to actually modify the wing at all. I'm going to put this up as high as I can so that it's kind of up against that in this little corner, and just like that. And what that's going to do is, while it will be frail and I'll probably knock the wing off, I'm going to use plastic glue so that it has a really good bond. But what I'm hoping to achieve is I want that wing to really stick out, like, you know, I want it to look like this, basically, because I want it to be a really wide sticking off. Now from the back, it will look something along the lines of this. Oh my gosh, can't hold on to anything right now. Which will also look good. So I'm going to do that, but since I need hands and concentration, I'm going to do that again off camera. And what we'll do is we'll glue this one on, and then I'll come back and I'll show cutting that one really quick, and then it'll be again, I'm not even going to show you cutting that. I'm just going to show you with the wings on, with me smiling like a big idiot because I'm happy that they're done. And I think that's it. I'm going to pin the helmet. I might as well just tell you what I did, and then I could just do the whole turntable, show you off, and all that fun stuff. So this piece right here, you could stick this in my little paint holders, if you will, just like that, and paint the whole thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get a smaller cork and use like a paper clip or something along those lines, and I will just drill a tiny little hole, ever so tiny, in that little spot down there, and then it will be sticking up quite high, and I'll be able to paint the whole thing. So I'll do all that, show you what it looks like, we'll wrap it up. couple things to point out before we finish up completely here. Here are the wings on the backpack. Like I said, I wanted them to stick off slightly, and that connection was kind of iffy for a little bit, but I figure once I can do this and shake the whole backpack and the whole model, and it's not just the wing look like it's going to fall off, well then I think we're good. We'll see. No changes other than that, but at least on those pieces. I did end up cutting the little nub here that goes on the inside of the arm off, simply because when it was going to put it back on, I was getting too close to hitting the wing, and it just seemed like it was more of a struggle than it was worth. So I am going to come back after I'm done and just, it'll glue one right there, and no one will be the wiser. Final thing is, like I said, I pinned the helm on here so that I can paint it, and then it's just super glued on here. So snap it off when it's done. And because I even though I don't like the helmet, I am going to paint this one since it is the Judicar episode after all. So I'll end up painting this helmet, and just doing that because just that kind of guy. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll paint a little like smiley face on the head. I don't know. Yeah, you know what? If I paint a little smiley face, little teeth or something like that on this, maybe it'll be like a reminder of COVID-15 mask or 15. Apparently, I went back in time. Okay, I think that's a good point to end it on. Anyways, so yeah. So that wraps it up. We're all done doing the best kit bash we could. Not a very, very complicated one. Probably not one that's necessary. And like I said, I don't even know if it's lore acceptable, but doesn't matter to me because, like I said, I love to paint models, and I really liked the other people online who had done this. So check out their links below. I added a couple Reddit threads where I had seen what they had done and just did my own little variant on it. And sometimes your own little variant is copying exactly what somebody else did, but with different paint on it. So if you like what you saw, I will be putting out the full episode of how I'm going to be painting it at some point, hopefully within the next month here. And of course the ramble free editions, so that you don't have to listen through all of the things that sound a lot like this, where it's just me going on and on, not necessarily trying to fill time, but just trying to think of what to say because I don't script anything. So if you liked what you saw, go ahead and subscribe, share, click the bell, comment, like. That's the other one. Anyways, thanks for making it this far if you did, and I will see you next time.